I'm Richard Randall, and welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. She's the host of the program, and this is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate. And it does it with Barb Schlinker, the owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, most people selling a home have some very different ideas of their home's value. Some believe that they should price it at the very top of the price range. Others want a quick sale, and there are others who have no idea at all. So, how does a home seller price their home to negotiate the very best price? And what should they do about low offers? You're an expert at negotiations. That's not something they teach in real estate school, but you've got a couple of decades of negotiating.
I do, Richard, and I get amazed every day at the response that we get to the market when I know and the sellers know we price the home very, very realistically, but the agents don't know, right? So they still come in with a lowball offer. Then they get a competing offer and they're like, "Oh, puff, puff, I got a competing offer. Now all bets are off. They have to come and make their best offer for their buyer to get the house. So it's really, really important that you sit down with whoever you're hiring to help you handle the sale and make sure that you've got it priced right. Because if you don't have it priced right, everything pivots from that. If you price it too high and you don't have any showings, that's a clue, right? The market has spoken back to you. Or if you price it just slightly higher, right at market value, and you get showings but no offers, or you get really, really low ball offers, that's a clue that you're closer, but you're probably not priced exactly right. I recently sold a property where we started at 600,000, and this is a corporate seller, so they very systematically every 2 weeks lowered the price, and they reached a number at which we got 3 offers on the same weekend. And of course, it was kind of shocking to me because it's not a bidding war market, right? But I went back to these agents and said, hey, we have 3 offers. You're going to need to make your best and highest offer. And the seller's probably going to answer not on the weekend because they're a corporate seller, right? And one of them didn't believe me. She asked me to show her the other offers, which I can't do. The other one didn't understand what best and highest meant. Like, she told her client, oh, don't worry, go ahead and make your offer and they'll just counter your buyer. In other words, the other 2 buyers, they're going to like yours better just because I said so. And that wasn't the case. That buyer didn't get the house, and that buyer was not happy. In fact, she started talking smack about me online. And I went back to the agent and said, well, party foul here. She's claiming she would have made an offer 50,000 more than what she actually did. I never got that offer. That's a lie. And it's because of something you told her. No, I would never do that. More and more, Richard, I get more and more agents when I confront them for stuff that they do. They won't accept responsibility for it. They won't say, okay, yeah, you're right, I said that, I'm sorry. They won't. That's all I want, right? For them to say, okay, I made a mistake, let's pivot to plan B. They vehemently deny it, even when I have witnesses. So I don't get that. I don't know where that comes from, but you're always better off telling the truth. I don't care what it is,
Well,
anyway.
I agree with that. I mean, I don't think they understand that you lose credibility if you let that lie stand. If you correct it, just own up to it and say you screwed up, then you maintain some of your credibility.
Yeah, and keep in mind, in the retail space, these agents are negotiating all the way to the finish line. It's not about the initial offer and whatever contract that you accept and then moving forward from there. They're still trying to get stuff all the way to the end. The inspection, the appraisal, the walkthrough. Now, the walkthrough, it's in the contract that says the buyer is entitled to a walkthrough prior to closing. The purpose of the walkthrough is to verify that the home is in the condition it was on the date of the contract, ordinary wear and tear accepted, and any agreed upon repairs are done. Okay, that's it. That's all it is. It is not their opportunity to negotiate new things. So just last weekend, I had some agent go to the walkthrough. The seller was home and she confronted him because we originally made a written agreement that he would close on Monday and get possession the next Monday. And it had a bidding war. So they're like, sure, whatever the buyer wants, we'll take care of it. Right. So that was the written agreement. They didn't do this form called a post-closing agreement. For some reason, they forgot to put that in their offer, but we still have that written agreement. So all of a sudden, a week before closing, she's saying, well, your seller has to pay money for that week after possession. I said, no, that wasn't the agreement. You don't get to change the deal a few days before closing. So she didn't like my answer. So what she do? She goes to the walkthrough the seller's home and she tells him, you need to sign that form or you got to pay money to stay after closing. And he just kind of looked at her like, I don't know what you're talking about. And she goes, well, fine. If you don't sign it, then you got to move out tomorrow. So she's actually telling this guy that after we have this written agreement, she wants to kick him out of his home and he's got a move planned and all that. I was like beside myself. And fortunately, she said that in front of his dad, who was sitting right there. So I wasn't feeling very good, but I got on the phone and called the agent. I said, what in the heck are you doing? Trying to negotiate something face to face with my client and not even involve me? What are you doing? Oh, I didn't do that. I said, you absolutely did. No, that's not really what I said. I said, I have witnesses. You know, that's exactly what you said. And you said it to me before that as well. And I didn't do that. I said, you can't do that. You can't charge somebody for possession after you've already signed and delivered the deal. So that's kind of the stuff that they tend to do all throughout the process. And it's so frustrating for home sellers because, like, okay, their house is under contract, they have a deal, they know what's going to happen. Then the buyer does their inspection. Now they're asking for all kinds of stuff. Now we may not have a deal, right? So now the seller's having to pay more money to keep the buyer happy. And then on the walkthrough, then they're asking for more stuff. This is how these agents justify their value because they can't find them the home and they can't that's already done by Zillow and all these websites. And they don't know how else to articulate what brings them to the table. And I think half of them, more than half of them, have another job, Richard. If 71% of real estate agents in 2024 had zero sales, what do you think they're doing? They're bugging me at 5:30, 6 o'clock at night on the weekends and holidays because they have another job.
Barbara, I have to say, when I found out that that was an issue, I've been telling people you can't ask someone how long they've been in real estate because they can say 10 years, and that's an honest answer. But then you have to ask, but how many homes have you sold? Oh, well, I work out of a spare bedroom and I sell one home every couple of years. That's not
Right.
who I want representing me on the biggest investment of my life.
And the consumers just don't know that. They don't know to ask those questions. And the problem is they run interference and get in the way of what their client wants, which is the house. And it creates lots of fun and frustration for me during the process. So part of this process is that they encourage their buyer to make lowball offers. Oh, don't worry, make a lowball offer. It's a weak market. Therefore, you know, the seller should be happy to pay 25,000 of your closing costs so you could buy down your interest rate and get a lower rate. What do you think? And then they'll present it to me as a win-win scenario. Oh, it's okay. We're going to do a lowball offer and we're going to ask for closing cost and we want a brand new roof. And that's a win-win, don't you think? You know, and it's not. And I'm like, no, it's a win-lose. Hello, pay attention. You know, no, I'm just trying to help my buyer. I'm like, I'm sure you are. And then next thing you know, boom, here comes another offer and their buyer does not get that house.
If an agent is killing a deal, they're not representing their client. And sometimes if they're asking for too much or proposing too much, they're absolutely killing the deal if they don't understand what the market is like the way you do, Barb.
Yeah. Well, my advice to sellers when you deal with that is try not to be emotional. Try to work with them because I have to understand, probably I'm learning more and more, it's getting worse as time goes on, that these other agents think they know what's going on in the market, but at the end of the day, they don't. And if they run interference and they slow down the process. And next thing you know, here comes another offer. Oops, maybe their buyer might not get the house, but their agent was a negotiating master person and decided that, hey, well, if you come in, you ask for all these things, we can get it. And that's how I justify my existence. And so I don't know how long it's going to take for them to understand, what the priority is. At the end of the day, if you got a buyer and seller that want to sell, buyer wants to buy and seller wants to sell, most of the time, the adults in the room take over and just say, hey, real estate agent, get out of my way. I'm buying this house. But not always, not always. And I've been experienced on the other side of that. I had one just this summer where we intentionally priced the home where we thought we would get multiple offers and sell it quickly. That was the whole idea. We knew we were going to get more than asking price. The first buyer that got in and made a really good offer, 50,000 over asking, did not see the 64 people that were at the open house in 1 hour because they got in early. And the agent insisted on their 3% commission paid by the seller. Okay, nowhere does it say it has to be paid by the seller, but this agent insisted on it. And my seller was like, I only want to pay 2% because they did nothing. All they did was walk through the house with their buyer and write a 10-minute contract. And, so there were 2 other buyers that made a very similar offer that were more than happy. The agents were more than happy to take 2% as a commission. And therefore, buyer number 1 didn't get the house. So what happens? I can guess. I don't know for sure, but I think what happened is buyer number 1 not happy with their agent because they didn't get the house, right? They were a cash buyer and they didn't get the house because the agent insisted on the seller paying his 3% commission. So he got fired. Next thing we know, we're getting this, the seller got this anonymous letter from an obvious real estate agent talking smack about me, and she's all about her open house and this and that. And, it's my fault, of course. And it was kind of, we both laughed about it, but it just told me the story that he got fired from his buyer and he didn't have a $700,000 sale because he was hell bent on getting his commission. Can I say hell on the radio?
It is accurate, Barb. I'm pretty sure you can.
I wasn't sure. Anyway, so if you get a lowball offer, my advice to home sellers is step back, don't be emotional. Let me present it in the form of a net proceeds. Let's take it logically, because sometimes these agents are testing the waters. I just sold one just a few months ago where the first offer from that buyer was 600,000. Seller said, nope. Just a couple days later, second offer from the same buyer, same agent, 650,000. Seller says, nope. Then she waited a week and here comes the full price offer. And seller said yes. But what if in that week between offer 2 and offer 3 full price, somebody else got in and got the house? Could you imagine how ticked off that buyer would have been? That's the kind of thing I'm talking about here. So you want to, tell the buyer in the form of your written counter, don't be emotional. Look at the net sheet. I have more and more sellers go, why are they asking me to pay their closing cost when I have my own? Which is a great question. Okay. But at the end of the day, it's all about, will you accept this dollar amount for this house? And that's the way you have to look at it. So if you are thinking of making a move, we do this every day. We have so much fun doing it. My name is Barb Schlinker, broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. Give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. You can always reach her at 719-301-3900. So, Barb, what are some other things that a home seller can do to properly negotiate that home sale?
Well, sometimes you can offer things that may not be that expensive, like a home warranty. Maybe they, the inspectors will deem a water heater dead if it's more than 8 years old. So, you might be able to say, well, no, the water heater is 8 years old, but it's still working. And here you can have a home warranty. You can do those kind of things. And you can also maybe even ask some more questions. What is most important to you, about this home? And we can't lie. We can't make up other buyers. We can't say, oh, we have another offer. We're not allowed to do that. But if you do have one, absolutely leverage the heck out of it. You don't have to tell them how much the other offer is. But at the end of the day, you need to hire somebody that really knows how to do this, that does this every day. My name is Barb Schlinker, and you can give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard.
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you are thinking of making a move, call Barb, 719-301-3900, or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. A short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing how much do you lose when selling to an investor. Barb's got that answer in just a few.